Hi students, it's Professor Tyberg. Hope you're having a good day today. I wanted to walk you through the reading on the genre of romance. And I'm calling this presentation Tales of the Lost and Found. And I hope it helps you understand this genre. So some background of the word, the etymology of the word romance. The word romance comes from Romans, the word Romans, which just meant simply French, since the French language evolved from Latin, which was the language of Rome. Then romance came to mean a story written in the vernacular, so it was written in French rather than Latin. And around the 12th century, the word began to mean narrative, stories of love and adventure, and romance still holds that meaning today. So romance is a narrative genre, and today in many countries, they call novels simply romances. Like in France, they don't call books novels like we do as much as they just call them romances. And this is not the same meaning as like our American romance novels that you would buy from the grocery store. Okay, romances means a genre designating a story of separation and return. Another way of saying that is disintegration and reintegration, or lost and found. There's usually loss, and then the character regains something at the end. So much of literature contains aspects of romance, and examples go back to classical literature before narratives were called romances. For example, Homer's Odyssey displays the structure of romance. Even though the Odyssey we consider an epic, Odysseus went through things like separation, testing, and travel, and then homecoming and recognition by Penelope, his wife. Shakespeare's comedies also have aspects of romance. They're called comedies not because they make us laugh, but because they end happily. And many romances end happily and in marriage, though not all of them do. Okay, romance gained popularity in the 12th century in France and England. Authors like Chrétien de Troyes and Marie de France, with their stories of King Arthur and his court, based on centuries-old Celtic legends, popularized romance as a genre. Marie wrote in the subgenre called lays, and these are short romances drawn from the Breton storytellers, and we'll be reading a couple of those this week. And then Chrétien wrote chivalric romances about Arthur and his court, about these gallant knights who explore psychological and ethical dilemmas, and who often save the damsels from danger. Romance has remained popular ever since as escapist literature, and so critics might characterize some romances as lowbrow literature, as a lowbrow genre, but they're extremely popular. They were popular then and popular now. There's this three-part structure of romance that I want you to know. The first part is integration, the second part is disintegration, and the third part is reintegration. And I want to take you through those three parts briefly. Part one of a romance, integration. Romances begin with the protagonist in a protected, civilized state of some integrated social unit, such as the family. Then in part two of a romance, there's this disintegration, and this protected space that the hero is within is disrupted. The hero is expelled to a wild place, maybe out into nature, or to some place of instability or chaos, and the hero undergoes a test or a series of tests. Part three of a romance is reintegration. So once the hero completes these tests, the hero is allowed to re-enter society, a family, or some sort of unified civilization again. And as I mentioned, romances often end in marriage. Okay, one motif of some romances, not all of them, is the idea of social class, and there's this knight who must prove himself worthy, maybe in order to marry like a princess. He has to prove himself by way of his noble character and bravery rather than the status of his birth, so he has to work his way up. Romances as a genre are built on desire. Romances represent desire and activate desire in readers. So audiences take pleasure when watching someone, have these problems, but then reintegrate into a coherent narrative. And this is because as people, we want vicariously to experience characters whose problems are solved. We want to imagine that life returns to coherence and stability, even if that's not the way life is in reality. Okay, the symbolism of romance. Romances placate the fears of the young because romances dramatize the challenges of surviving in the adult world. That adult world can be thought of as that wild place of disintegration that the young person must navigate in order to reach reintegration. And according to our textbook, the main moral of romances is, quote, civilization is not a unitary concept. So it's not just the civilized place or this uncivilized place, but it's both at the same time. And the hero must face the uncivilized wild which threatens civilized society in order to stay in that civilized world. In other words, to have stability, the hero must face the instability at the margins. So romance in popular culture, many of today's stories and films borrow from romance, and I want you to think of one of your favorite movies and think about how closely it follows the structure and thematic content of romance. And then here's just my little works cited page. That's it. I hope that made sense, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you online. Okay, bye.